everybody. Welcome to ClapperCast. I am your host, as always, Carson Tamar, joined by Paul Price. Paul, how are you doing today?
I am good. I went and saw that Operation Fortune Ruse de Gare or whatever it's called. Actually, pretty fun. I was surprised. I saw it with friend of the podcast, Chris, and one of the things we were talking about when we walked out is it felt like a mini series that they cut out all the boring bits. So it does feel a little rushed, but in a way that, like, for these kind of movies, I'm not upset about. And it was just nice. Also, it was the first time I watched Aubrey Plaza, and I was like, she can be a star. Oh. You know how usually, like, with these kind of movies, you're like, this person's, like, really good, but I don't see, like, star power, especially with her roles. This was, like, she's playing a comedic role, and it felt really, like, yeah, you're doing something different. I can see variety now. Between this and White Lotus, I think we're seeing a shift from her just doing what she did at, like, SAG, where she's just like, I hate everyone, cynicism. So I was excited. Overall, I think it's really good. And, it obviously flopped, but I do think that's my, like, tinfoil hat theory is that was because of contracts and they didn't give a fuck how much it made. Because I think that they're going to do a huge release when it comes out. I believe Amazon Prime, and I can see it becoming like a series because it's like it's like similar vein to Spy almost, less comedic, but just like, I could watch like 7 of these.
I hated Spy, but valid. Not a fan, and I'm a Melissa McCarthy stan. It really was shocking, but it's okay.
Oh, that hurt.
I did not see that, but it is in theaters. I like when you do not advertise your film. I don't think you really care if, like, it brings in money. So I assume it probably will be big on VOD or whatever.
Yeah. Well, same with fucking 65 coming up this year, this weekend.
They didn't even screen it for the press, and I will not be going. To it.
Oh no, it's gonna be bad. Shit.
Did you think Adam Driver going back to the dinosaurs with a little girl was going to be good?
Yes.
Okay. Valid.
Yes. Because here's the thing. Jurassic Park is great.
Okay.
But outside of the park, you can't really do it. But if you do something like going back in time, fighting some dinosaurs, I'm in. I love dinosaur-based movies. And I also love that we're also just doing, like, it feels very post-COVID that we're just like, I don't know, that movie? Sure, let's make it. Like, pulling out stuff, especially with the fall of, like, the MCU a little bit with Quantum Mania. Like, I feel like we're getting to the point where it's like, hey, let's try old movies again. Let's try, fun new concepts and just...
I mean, if it gets even middling reviews, I might go see it. I just expect it to be pure trash, but I agree. I do think, like, society's healing from the MCU. Today, the news came out that Taika Waititi was going to star in his Star Wars film, and I saw universal hatred towards it. So, like, nature's healing, society's getting back on track, we're recovering.
And Kevin Feige's Star Wars got canceled, and everyone was thrilled about that,
I am
too.
sad.
Which, can you imagine, like, 5 years?
As the one Wonder Woman 1984 stan,
No, it's you, me, and Chris. We're the 3. That's it. That's just us.
I love that I either forgot or just never knew you liked that movie. It's so good.
Okay, so you have to remember the time period I watched it.
Sure.
So it came the same. No, you have to remember it came out the same day as Soul, and everyone hated 1984, and I hated Soul. I was so bored.
That's very you.
And then I'm sitting there, and 1984 is there, and I'm like, "Oh, this is fun and dumb and silly. Let's go for it." And everyone was like, "This is against cinema," and I was like, okay,
"My cool. Queen Gal Gadot rose in that pandemic and delivered."
Gal Gadot.
Well, enough talking about old films, because we do a new film talk about, Creed 3. You look like you're ready to take a boxing class. I took a Peloton boxing class for like 2 weeks, so, like, I'm really dedicated and ready to talk about this. What?
Like you said, I took a Peloton boxing class, but
Oh, for like 2
when?
weeks though, I said.
I know
Oh,
when.
like I don't know, a month ago.
Is it like recent? Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Okay. We love Peloton, keeping those people employed. Um Creed 3, the third Creed film, highest opener for any live action sports film, any boxing film. Creed is retired, but his old friend Jonathan Majors, I don't remember the name of his character because I saw this weeks ago, but he is out of prison and he's like a really good boxer. And he's like, hey, you owe me this because I went to jail, like protecting you from this guy. So, like, give me a shot at the world title. And Creed is like, no, but then he does. And they have a boxing match. And it's really a complex story here. And I will say, I love this movie. I think the first Creed is really good. I think the second Creed is pretty forgettable. Haven't seen any of the Rocky movies but the first one because I watched the first one and thought it's not for me. Sorry. But this film definitely has some wild jumps in logic I'm sure we'll get to. And definitely like you have to just kind of accept what you are watching. But as far as performances go, as far as boxing goes, specifically cinematic showcases of boxing, I think this is really solid. I think Michael B. Jordan does a great job in his directorial debut. I'm a little bit worried about the future of the franchise. We'll get there because apparently Creed 4 is on the way, and I don't really get that. But as far as Creed 3 goes, I think this is a really, really solid film. But I know you have some different takes on it. So, Paul, what were your thoughts on Creed 3?
Um, okay, so I think my problems with Creed go back to the first Rocky movie, which sounds silly, but in Rocky, Rocky doesn't win. Sorry for spoilers on this very old movie. That is important for what happens in Creed 3, which is Creed starts the movie rich as hell, in a perfect relationship with a daughter who loves him, and nothing's wrong. And he ends the movie exactly the same. And there isn't, every decision he makes is his own problem and he fixes it. There is no, there's nothing. And like, I do understand, like, as a, oh, it's a fun time to just watch the movies. But with the Creed series, and the Rocky series before it, there are these movies that are about like overcoming like incredible odds. This movie is not about that. This movie is about someone with everything fighting someone who has nothing and beating their ass. Like absolutely demolishing him. And like it's so strange to me. I was watching this movie and I was like, oh, I don't feel like it's a spoiler to say that like Creed won the fight. Like this is very much going to be one where it's just like this is the movie. I don't think anyone who's debating watching Creed 3 is really interested in this discussion. But for me, I was sitting there and I was like, this movie has to end with Creed coming out of retirement and getting his ass handed to him. He has to be like, that is what this is about ultimately, is like he had this thing in his past, it came back, he dealt with it super poorly. Obviously, no one disagrees that he dealt with it poorly. And then he's coming out of retirement to be like, yes, I am going to take him down because of it. And he loses everything. He is now no longer, up on the top. You have his relationship kind of on the rocks, all of that. I knew we were in for trouble when his wife was talking to him and he's like telling the story. She's like, you did nothing wrong. And I was like, oh no, I know this is going positive. This is not ending on a movie where, you were saying the fourth one, where he's going to be at his bottom and he's going to have to work his way up in the fourth one from nothing again, which would have been super interesting, into your career, but trying one more time. This was more like when Tom Brady did that other season, and if it had actually worked out and he won the Super Bowl and got like MVP and everything, like it just felt like there's nothing really to. It's not. It's closer to like the Marvel movies almost, where it's like the hero is the best and then he destroys everyone and that's it. The stakes are just on the floor with this movie. Um, but outside of that, it was fun. Like I enjoyed moments. I think the fights are cool. I don't like that because of what I was saying, where you just know the plot of this movie and there's no surprises. All of the major fights, I was like, well, he's gonna win this one. Well, obviously, like, imagine if Dame had like gotten beaten up by the heavyweight champion, and they were like, "Well, that's the end of the movie." Like, obviously, he's gonna win, and then obviously in the last one, by that point, fucking putting Adonis in white and then Dame in black. I'm like, okay, he's obviously gonna win, and so he did. It's just it's something that needs so much more, and I feel like sitting in the you know writer's room of it, where Coogler pulls a little James Gunn and gets his brother to write it, um, is like they were definitely going, oh, we need something to happen in this movie. Like nothing happens in this movie. And they went, well, we kill Felicia Rashad, I guess. And that's kind of like, even when that was happening, I was like, you really are just like, we need something in the second act because nothing's happening. Because otherwise, if you take that moment out, nothing happens to Creed at all. And that just really frustrates me. I'm curious what you think.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I was never like shocked by any of the boxing results or like, oh my God, is Creed going to lose this? Like, yeah, clearly. But I also like, I don't expect that. I don't know. Maybe like, I don't know if the Rocky movies outside of the first one ever really does it. Like, I don't know. I don't go into any of these and really think like, oh, in Creed 2, like the Russian or whatever is going to win. Like, obviously Creed is going to come out on top. I don't mind the predictability when you have the substitution of like the emotion behind the fight, which I feel like was built very well as far as his relationship with this guy. I think there's a turn of Jonathan Majors' character to try to make him more the villain, which is very unnatural. That's definitely where like the film is like, oh, people are not going to necessarily be like rooting for. Go for it.
I was gonna say, you mean the attack on fucking Drago's
Yeah,
soul?
it was very odd, but like I don't know. I think the emotion.
That, I was I was 100% certain that they were gonna reveal Creed did that, and when they were like, "Look, it's not," I was like, "Oh, where is this movie going?" Because I thought legitimate, and I guess that's what I'm frustrated about. Is there is like with a couple changes a very dark film in here, which is why Stallone didn't want to do it, and instead it's like very just like it just like plays around with like the possibility of dark Creed, but he ends up just being a perfect good guy.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like he's supposed to be the good guy. Like I don't know. Typically in cinema, like I do agree with what you're saying, but like I think specifically for some reason with the Creed franchise, I have no issues with it as long as there's something engaging. Which like I think this is more engaging than the Russian in the second one. So like I think this is a step up emotional for me. And like I said, the filmmaking I found was quite captivating. Not to move on too much, but like I don't know what the fuck they're going to do for Creed 4. I have no interest in a Creed 4. I don't know if it's going to be the daughter. Like, I feel like they were low-key teasing that the daughter was going to, like, grow up and box someone. I don't know.
That's what I assume with, what they're eventually going to do with the series, but I thought they were going to, this was it. I mean, the movie ends the series. Like, and the thing is, if you do another one, and he wins. So here's my showing my ass moment. I have not seen the first Creed. I almost watched it in prep for this. I saw the second one weirdly. So I had something to do with some friends, and I got there early. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like 3 hours early. What should I do? And I was like, oh, Creed 2 showing. Sure, why not? Who cares? So I watched it and I was like, oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I had no reference or anything. This series is very bad about introducing you to concepts and things. I saw 2 of these movies until like I want to say the back third of this movie did I realize that Felicia Rashad was not his real mom, And then she started talking, and I was like, wait, what are you saying? You're adopted, and it's like, oh, okay,
I also
I
forgot that
get what
was a
it
thing, and
is.
I was trying to establish the timeline because a lot of the backstory behind him and Jonathan Majors is that they spent time in like this group home or whatever. I was like, what the fuck is like
Yes,
happening? I agree there. I had no idea. I like, and I had seen the other creeds. I didn't rewatch them. I was like, I guess. I assume it adds up.
I also okay, so like, and I'm not one that understands the justice system enough, but were they saying, and I missed it in the diner where they're talking, but were they saying that he was in jail for that one offense for 18 years when he was a minor, or were they saying that started him on a path where he like did kept getting in and out of the prison system? Um, I could not tell, but like that's a huge difference to me. And I think like something that's just kind of glossed over. Someone who's like, oh, this one thing and that was the reason. Or if he's been in and out, it's like, okay, then you know, why is he showing up now? All that stuff, and like his evil plan, which I don't think is that evil. It's just give me a chance, and he gets it and wins. Oh no! When he's like, I've got to stop him. I'm like, stop him from
Not
what?
to be well from ruining Creed's like hand-picked champion, which like I agree narratively is very strange. And then they're like, well, we won't root for John.
Yeah,
Right. And then they're like, oh, well, you'll root for Jonathan Majors. So they have him be an asshole at a party and just randomly start attacking Creed's family. It's very odd.
but I also like when I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, you just showed up and you're like, you're a bad person. He was in prison with this random dude and he paid him to break the hand so that he would. And that's the thing. His entire plan is insane and also makes no sense because, like, to me, you needed a beat with Damien, where he goes, I have won, but I'm going, and they're like, that's fine. And he pushes it with Creed to be like, okay, I've got to, like basically, I am better than you. I've always been better than you. You just had opportunities that I didn't have, which is what the movie's kind of trying to say. Um, but like, they don't have him push it. It seems like Damien's like, cool, like, I don't like you, but we're like, fine. Like, I have no qualms with you until Creed like goes on TV to like badmouth. There's just so much about this movie that's like, why are you hating on the poor and disadvantaged? Like, what situation is that?
Sure.
um
I mean, is the movie saying like the low, like if you have low income, you should stay in your lane and like do not bother the real like people? Yes. But is it fun? Yeah. Was I engaged? Yeah. I don't know. I think like on paper, there's everything you're saying is correct. And it's like, yeah, I really shouldn't like Creed 3. But for some reason, this movie got me still. Like, I'm still out here.
I mean, that's fair. I've done that with movies too. um you know what, one thing, so speaking of which we haven't really gotten into, Michael B. Jordan is the director on this. I thought he was fine. I don't think he's like God's gift to directors. We'll see what he does in an original project.
I'll say I like his
But
ambition, though. I think it's really easy to take over a established franchise like this and play it incredibly safe. And I think even if some choices are jarring, like he does have a distinctive style, even against the franchise itself, which I appreciate.
yeah, I will say during the final fight, I was expecting and did not get. Um, I was fully prepared for in the middle of their boxing match for it to turn into them as kids, and I was like so ready for that like moment. Nothing happens. It's just another fight. For some reason, they go into a prison. That's weird. I don't know what metaphor that is. Like,
Well, he was
other
in
than this guy
prison.
wasn't. Why?
The genius is there.
That's, that's not a metaphor. That's just like previously on Creed 3.
I will say -1 star for the cryptocurrency arena. I know it's called that.
Oh, oh no, the funniest part is I was trying to imagine how Dodger Stadium gets completely sold out for an event that like was created maybe a week or two before. They're like, oh, we're gonna have our beef, and it's like, okay, but like Dodger Stadium. Um, Also, we didn't talk about one of my favorite parts of this movie. I have done the math multiple times. I do believe that this movie is set during 2020, like in the
It is.
middle of COVID. This is
Well,
going
there's not COVID in
on.
the world, sure, but yeah.
In a different universe.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
And it's like such a weird choice. Like, it's 2023. Why? You can do anything. Why are you going like, yeah, no, this was set smack dab. I could even believe 2021 or
Sure.
2019. Why that year?
I mean, I'll take them not mentioning COVID over Lal Lal Crocodile that was too lazy to take off the COVID signs on the subway, so it just made everyone look like an anti-masker. So, like, I don't know. I wasn't too bothered by that. Though I do think it would be fun if it took place during the pandemic and he faced like Logan Paul and they had like a whole thing about them not being masked. It'd be great, but. Which is my pitch for Creed 4 is Creed versus Logan Paul or whoever boxes. I don't know which one it is. One of the brothers. Oh, sure.
Both do. Both Paul brothers do.
Can't say I keep up with boxing or Logan Paul as much as Alina does, but
But yeah, I don't understand. I know they have to do a Creed 4, and there is no way they're going to use the daughter as the main character. But what do you like? Even like Tessa Thompson is just sitting there, like she does nothing in this movie, and I feel so bad for her. Like when she's sitting there and she's like, he keeps asking her about decisions she made in the previous movie. She's like, "Yep, that's the decision I made in the last Creed movie." And he's like, "Yeah, but how do you feel about that?" And she's like, "I talked about this in the last Creed
I
movie."
feel like they really rushed his retirement too early because, like, now the story has to be if he's the one fighting, like, something draws him out of retirement, and they already did that with this film. Like, I'm just not interested in that narrative, and I don't see how you can evolve it with Michael B. Jordan being the guy fighting.
Yeah, and I assume that that's well, and that's what's weird is like, you know, by having this end with him winning, there is no more story. Um, and this isn't like say like an Indiana Jones or something where it's like, oh, we could just keep coming back to it again and again. I know they did that with the Rockies, but like that's why like they have diminishing returns, like famously, until they move into like old man Rocky, but like we're not there with Michael B. Jordan. Um, so I don't really know what's coming more. But yeah, he's retired. Like he's retired and he's happy with his family, and I can't. There's nothing that would pull him out of retirement. Sorry, there just
They did it.
isn't.
They pulled that card. Like, I just don't know what the story could be. Like, but I don't know. Like, that's equally, I think, frustrating, but also like possibly exciting because, like, I just truly don't know what they're going to do. I just hope it's not like boring. Probably will be.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, when this, I do feel like it's just this is a bit of a flub in terms of even building the series. Um, like, yes, it made a ton of money. I'm, I will say I'm a little surprised that people are like super into it, because of how low stakes it is. But I'm not like mad about it. There's a lot of movies where I'm like mad when
Sure.
people like them. This one, I'm like,
I don't know. It's like
sure,
it's a big like mainstream film that's well made, like filmmaking wise. It has like an emotional heart, even if it's not the best one. It kind of like I don't know. After I just rewatched Top Gun Maverick, and like at this point, of a big movie like this that's competent that also has some emotion. Like I just think it stands out in the wave of all the 65s out there, which I assume are not well made and do not have emotion. Maybe I'm wrong about 65, but like I
it's just sitting right
I
there.
just feel like I don't know. I just feel like at this point, even if you're good, it stands out so much that people are like, "Wow, that was great." So who knows?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, to be fair, I'm talking about this movie because this is the movie we're talking about, but like Operation Fortune, I would be doing the exact same thing. Like, that is not a good film by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm
We
like, it was
also
fun. I
can't
enjoyed myself.
overlook, and now look, I know I'm a serious critic. I have said a lot of things I like about this film, so I don't want people to think this is the only thing helping my opinion. Both men are very hot. I enjoyed it. I will say, walking through the theater auditorium every week to my screenings, I quite enjoyed the posters. I'm here for it. I'll throw that out there as a fact.
Uh, it's really funny because I was sitting there. I was like, wow, Tessa Thompson is so pretty. I was like, man, I think you could do better than this guy. Not like in terms of looks, just in terms of he's not a good
No,
guy. He kind of sucks.
I also like. I don't know. I think that the whole like narrative of like Creed, you need to express your emotions, is like fine. I don't know. That didn't really do much for me.
Also, you have to get rid of the trope of a older character is fine for two movies, and then in the third one they're like, oh, they're not doing well, and you're like, they're gonna die. Like, if she had survived, I would have been like, oh my god, this is wild. Like, if she had been like, yeah, no, if she had the second stroke, and was like, oh, I do need help, and it's just a side plot thing, but like, oh, that's cool, giving the character something to do. Maybe give Tessa Thompson a couple scenes. Like, great, do something. Instead, it's like, God, when she was fucking talking to like the ghost of his dad, I was like, I cannot. This is so dumb. It was so dumb. I love Felicia Rashad, but like, that performance.
It's not the strongest point in the film. I'll give you that.
No. There's a lot of like, okay, you know what I will say is good though? The design of his trophy room, where they have like
Yes,
his like man cave. Like, this is
it's
really
sick.
cool. Like, it both feels real and is cool to look at. A lot of times you build those. Like, I was sitting there and I was like, huh, it's sad that this is just a set, because it's like, the way they do the glass cases and how his different, outfits are set up and everything. Like, I was like, this is cool. The Although some of the call drinks that they had throughout the back of his bar were like, okay, I'm glad you got a lot of like crypto,
Right.
the crypto.com. It's just like, okay, you had a deal there. Um, but yeah, no, I don't. I'm also not a sports guy in
Sure.
general in terms of the movies, and the Rocky series, even from like the first one, I've just never
Are
connected
you
with.
into like
But
sports overall? Like, are you someone who gets really engaged? Because I find myself being someone who like really easily, like, I don't follow sports, but I'm someone who very easily can like watch a game and get into it.
no, I only like one-on-one sports and the Olympics.
Valid.
So, like, I know boxing, but I specifically mean me. Like, I like fencing.
Sure.
I like, rock climbing. I was never like a team sport person. I know that's completely different from boxing, but I also don't like um, wanton violence.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. There's just some, like, I don't mind it in something like John Wick, but there is something a little gladiatorial watching, like, oh, I want to watch these two guys just beat the shit out of each other. I'm always like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
let's get the line.
I've never been
Next.
in box. I think boxing is very boring, but like I see how like cinematically presented, I can get very into it. But like, would I prefer if this was a hockey game? Sure, would be screaming in my seat for that.
I love the idea that it's just two guys playing hockey.
We need more great hockey movies. That's my
One
take.
hockey.
As someone who's gotten weirdly into hockey this year, I'm here for it.
Oh, I will also say I was very confused with what the plot of his daughter was. Like, it just felt like it. I know it's probably setting her up, but like setting her up for 10 years from now. What is this? An
What is this?
MCU
Black
movie?
Panther, Wakanda Forever?
Like I was just sitting there, I was like, why? Why are we doing this
I
right
feel like
now?
they're just gonna recast her and like I don't know. I really feel like there's a chance Creed 4 is about her. I've no,
Oh, he's gonna go into the quantum
okay.
realm, and then he'll come out. Now she's
Mm,
older, and he's the same age, and they'll recast her with Catherine Newton.
love it. Pitch it, Michael. Listen, um, yeah.
We haven't figured out for you. But yeah, that was like, you know, it's fine.
Sure.
But
I mean, I don't know. My final thoughts would say I enjoyed it. I don't think it's like the best made film of all time. A lot of people are saying it's the best sports film of all time. I wouldn't go that far, but like I think this was very well made. I think the screenplay has some to be desired, but like if you look at this movie and think, "Oh, I enjoy watching just like a classic boxing film," I think you will be satisfied enough.
yeah, I think that's fair. Um, I do want to know what Mike White has to say about it. Someone posted on Twitter and was like, "We've had the White Lotus, we've had the Menu, and Triangle of Sadness. Where's our biting satire of poor people?" And I almost posted, "We just got it with Creed 3," and I was like, "Nope, not touch. I am not
No.
getting those people." That I was like, "That's all." I literally saw it, and I was like, "Creed 3."
Right.
Those dirty, dirty boars.
Well, if you want to see, go for it.
I was gonna say, even when he's like impressed by their wealth, and you're supposed to be like, "Wow, how embarrassing for you!"
Well,
Like when he's like, "Your floors are see through," and they look at him like, "Who cares? We're used to that." Like,
right.
how are we supposed to?
Yeah. Well, if you
But
want to watch some poor people get beat up, you can go see Creed 3 in theaters now. We'll be streaming sometime. I actually think this will probably be in theaters for a while.
and people
What
up.
was that?
Oh yeah, I said and beat people up. It's equal opportunity
That's
beatings.
fair. And if you want to see ClapperCast box each other, I'm sure it will be on pay per view. I'm sure sometime in the next 2 years. Let's close this out with some rapid reviews. Paul, is there anything you watched this week, old or new, that you have not mentioned so far that you would like to shout out or talk about?
Yeah, so I watched Swallowed finally. It's been a movie that I've really wanted to watch for a while. It's a horror film with Jenna Malone that's about this these two gay best friends who are needing money to move out to LA, and they decide to take this drug deal where they have to swallow these drugs and take them across the border. And one of the bags starts opening up, and it's like I was expecting it to be a lot more body horror than it was, and the second half takes a weird turn that I don't want to like spoil, but it's so strange. Um, but for a certain audience, I think it would really work. It is very much a queer movie, which I was not expecting. I was just expecting queer characters. Uh, so much so that the protagonist from Nightmare on Elm Street 2, who's canonically like the gayest character in a horror movie, um, is like he's one of the leads in this, one of the four leads. So that was weird. I don't particularly recommend it, but if you like body horror, I'd go for it. And then I also watched Miranda July's um, Me, You, and Everyone We Know, and very weird, but like I enjoyed it. It is very much like a mumblecore kind of indie film, but some of the performances are really good, and it's got this like weird texture to it that I really enjoyed. I do think it's a little slow at points, but I do get why people are absolutely in love with it or absolutely hate it. Both make sense.
Have you seen
Um,
Gajillionaire?
but
Have you seen
huh?
Gajillionaire? Her another film.
Yeah, I really I wanted to watch through her filmography because when she narrates Fire of Love, and everyone was like, "Wow, I hate her," the voice of who's doing Fire of Love. Like everyone I've talked to is like, "That is the worst voice," and I was like, "I love Miranda July." She did a short story I liked, but I was like, I've never watched her movies, so I'm like, I should go through those. So I did this one first, then I'm gonna do. I always forget what the second one is because I remember
The
Kajillionaire.
Future.
It is The Future, and then Kajillionaire. Because I also like Evan Rachel Wood, but yeah, I'll be interested to
I'm
see him.
watching Miyu and everyone we know sometime soon because I'm doing like a 2005 retrospective personally. But Gajillionaire is like one of my favorite films of all time. So you'll probably one star it, but I'm very curious what you think, I guess.
I don't know. I think I like 3.5 or 4 started this one. Three
Also,
and a
fuck
half
anyone saying
feels
her
right.
voice is not good for Fire of Love. I think that's one of the best parts of that film, but whatever.
I loved it. Oh, and did you see, by the way, that they're doing a movie version?
Yes, and I'm not here for it, but like we'll talk about it, I guess, when it releases.
I'm shocked that it's not Wes
That's the
Anderson.
only.
I was like, just
Yeah, I just don't get.
I was so ready for him to be like, I'm winning my Oscar
I just
now.
don't get how it would like even touch the documentary. But like, I guess we'll see. Who knows? Do we know who's directing yet? I don't think so.
No, it's
So
literally
maybe
just
it will
dragged
be
for bot.
Wes. Um,
If it is Wes, then it could win. Because I did feel like the movie left me a little cold because they exclude, and even like when I listened to an interview with the two directors, or the director and the two writers, um, they were talking about that like they didn't want to speculate on their lives, even though they knew a lot of stuff colloquially. They only talked about things if they had the footage, and I was like, okay, yeah, but like I don't understand this couple's relationship at all at the end of
yeah.
the day. And apparently, there's a lot that happened, um, and so I would like to see that more in movies because I don't understand someone who's like, yes, I will allow you to have me set on fire by lava.
Yeah.
I would like to know more. I'm so much more interested in her than him. He's just obviously
Oh,
like,
he's like such a lovable goof, though. No, would recommend the Werner Herzog. He like randomly released a documentary about them this year or last year, which no one had no marketing, no one's ever talked about, but like he did it. I would recommend it. It's a good companion piece to Fire of Love. It's called like the Requiem. I don't
oh,
know what
cool.
it's called, but it's good. As far as what I watched this week, I watched To Leslie, which was fine. It was, I think, she was good. Andrea, I think Mark Maron stole the show. Big fan of him. I rewatched 2022 Scream 5 because I'm watching the new Scream this week, and it was still, I think, a very average film. I'm not a fan of that movie, which makes me nervous for the new one, but we'll get there. And then I'll shout out.
All
Go for it.
I was gonna say all the reviews say I didn't like the last one, but I love this one.
In 3 hours, I'll text you that it was probably bad, but we'll see. And I will shout out. I've been rewatching, well, not rewatching. I've been watching over the past year, but really kicking in a high gear recently. I'm trying to watch all the Barbie movies before the new Barbie, and I've not loved a lot of them. But 2006 is The Barbie Diaries. I must say, is stellar. It is nothing. Like, it completely is just the most basic high school teen drama. And you know me, I love these shit. I love dumb high school drama. And it really scratched my brain in the right way towards like the best Barbie film. I think overall people dislike it, but like I fucking loved it. So The Barbie Diaries, I will shout out. And with that, that's going to bring today's episode to a close. Paul, where can we find you on social media?
At Price Like Tag on Twitter, Instagram, and
You can
Letterboxd.
find me on Twitter at BP movie reviews, Letterboxd Carson Tamar. Thank you so much for listening / watching. You can find our podcast everywhere where podcasts are found, including YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. And we'll see you next week to discuss all things cinema. Goodbye.